Well, he had a hard time most times, especially during the dark days, I guess. So let's go there. Let's talk about Albert, because he was such a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you met him when you were young, and you really liked him. It was an instant connection.
I was quite smitten with Albert.
Yeah, you wrote in your journal about how you admired his nose and his form and his legs and his ears and, you know, the shape of his head. And
well, when I was younger, and every girl does this. They fantasize about, you know, their one true love, and he fit the description and then some.
Wow.
So
that was lucky.
I could not help it.
Well, of course you went there, so I think that's great. And then he returned your affection. On that first meeting, he liked you just as much as you liked him. Well, he seemed to have a different upbringing where he was culturally encouraged to express his creativity. You know, he was an architect and drew and was interested in nature, and, you know, so completely different childhood than you. So that was probably a good compliment. It was like, you know, if you're deprived of chocolate and now you meet someone who comes with chocolate and, you know, gives you that taste, and you're just like, oh, you know.
Yes, he was my enabler.
Culturally,
a lot of things I experienced with him were new. Well, at least new to me.
Well, and new to him. Did you ever talk about it? It's like, you know what he brought to you, but what did you bring to him?
You said a pretty good adventure.
But you made him part of your process of governing in your daily life and influence of, you know, what did they call him? The man behind the throne, and they presented him for, you know.
Yes. But my thought process at the time, I just want to be with him.
Well, of course.
Of course. So let's put him in here so I get to, you know, see him more.
Well, you probably didn't give him anything that wasn't uninteresting or, you know, worth his attention, or something that he wouldn't rise to the occasion about.
Well, there was a couple things he had to do to prove himself to others, but such is politics.
So it was really a partnership between you and Albert, you know. It was like two peas in the pod.
Well, two peas on the throne, actually.
There you go. I like the fact that you got tired of waiting for the government to name him Prince Regent, so you just did it yourself. Good for you.
They were delaying and stalling.
Why? You've been married.
Kept always losing the paperwork.
What would to be gained by not doing that? Because by that point you would already had 2 or 3 children, didn't you? Or all of them? I can't remember.
Yes, but when I realized that, you know, they would only process the paperwork when Albert would pay him a sum, that's when I pretty much took matters in my own hands.
Wow. They were pretty upset with you when you did that. But they couldn't do anything about it, right? It was a done deal.
They were hoping I didn't do anything about it.
Well, but you had the public, you know, they loved him just as much as you did, so it's not like, you know, you're putting someone who wasn't worthy at that position.
Yes, but at the time they believed, the nobles and everyone else in power believed that only their opinion mattered.
And you showed them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that fosters some resentment against you after you did that?
I always had resentment against me, so what's some more?
And how did you deal with that? Just it's there and you don't see it? Don't care? I mean, Albert read the papers. Anything that was written about you or him, he knew
if
it.
It needs to be addressed, we'd address it.
Right.
Again, it's something you just stumble across in life, and you hope you don't fall. Now, I understand where you're going with this, and I'm going to do the segue for us so we can save some time and some awkward questions, shall we?
Please.
After Albert's death is, I believe, what you're really wanting to know, am I right?
Well, I wanted to know both pieces of it, for sure.
Obviously, I took it rather hard.
Right.
And when someone you're practically, soulmates with, happens to leave the body before you do and leaves you with all this negativity surrounding you. You can probably see how I fell apart.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that you created a shortage with black cloth in the country of England. Because what was it? Your extended mourning period created a market for death, which I'm sure you didn't intend to have that. You probably focus on you and not thinking of the consequences on a grander scale.
Yes, most of it was trying to cope. You do not know how it is, and I hope you never do, when you go to bed and you find it empty every day. When you sit down at the table and you don't see another place setting.
But you kept him there. You had his bust. You would include him. So in spirit, you would keep that space open for him. When in the family pictures and the events and such. So which is really,
yes,
he was still there. You just couldn't feel him, or
Exactly. Hence why trying to cope with it.
Right.
And since if your treasured loved one happens to leave, they can't knock you in the head for all the stupid stuff you're doing. I'm pretty sure he would have done it thrice over.
If I may be so bold, I think he sent
you be so bold.
I think he sent you someone to help.